The sound of the slap echoed down 125th Street. Mayme Hatcher hit the sidewalk hard. Her purse spilled open. Lipstick, keys, and coins scattered across the concrete. Blood ran from her split lip. Officer Daniel Brennan stood over her, hand still raised. I said, "Get off the sidewalk. You people think you own these streets." It was 3:47 p.m. on a Wednesday afternoon in June 1947. 50 people saw it happen. The fruit vendor on the corner, the woman sweeping her stoop, the teenagers playing stickball, the taxi driver waiting at the light. 50 witnesses to Officer Daniel Brennan slapping Bumpy Johnson's fiancée in broad daylight. Mayme touched her lip, looked at the blood on her fingers, looked up at Brennan with tears in her eyes. Not from pain, from humiliation. "I was just walking, I didn't do anything wrong. You were in my way, now get up and get out of here before I arrest you for disorderly conduct." The fruit vendor, Mr. Chen, stepped forward. "Officer, she didn't—" "You want some too, old man?" Mr. Chen stepped back. Brennan walked away, whistling, like nothing had happened. The fruit vendor helped Mayme to her feet. A woman gave her a handkerchief for her lip. The teenagers picked up her scattered belongings. "Miss Mayme, you okay?" the woman asked. "I'm fine, thank you. You should tell Mr. Johnson. I don't want to cause trouble. That cop caused trouble, not you." Mayme walked home slowly. Her face hurt. Her pride hurt more. She didn't know that by the time she reached her apartment, 20 people had already made phone calls. The network was activating. And in 72 hours, Officer Daniel Brennan would cease to exist in Harlem. 5:30 p.m. Bumpy Johnson was in a meeting at Small's Paradise when Junie Bird burst through the door. "Boss, it's Mayme." Bumpy was on his feet before Junie finished the sentence. "What happened?" "Cop hit her, on 125th, in front of everybody." Willie Jackson stood up. "How bad?" "Split lip. She's at her apartment now." Bumpy was already moving, out the door, down the stairs, into his Cadillac. He made it to Mayme's apartment in 4 minutes, took the stairs 3 at a time, knocked on her door. "Mayme, it's me." She opened it, tried to smile, couldn't quite manage it with the swollen lip. "I'm okay, Bumpy, really. It's not—" He saw her face and went very still, the kind of still that preceded violence. "Who?" It wasn't a question. It was a death sentence waiting for a name. "Bumpy, please don't." "Who did this to you?" Mayme sat down on her couch, told him everything, the sidewalk, the demand, the slap, the witnesses. When she finished, Bumpy was quiet for a long time. "His name?" "Officer Brennan." "Daniel Brennan. You know him?" "He patrols this area. Everyone knows him. He's not a good man. He won't be any kind of man when I'm done with him." Mayme grabbed his hand. "No, Bumpy, no, if you hurt a cop, they'll come after you. They'll find a reason to lock you up. I can't lose you over this." "He put his hands on you." "I know, but I'm okay. Look at me. I'm okay, please. Promise me you won't do anything violent." Bumpy looked at her, at the woman he was going to marry, the woman he'd chosen to spend his life with, the woman some cop had just humiliated on a public street. "I promise," he said finally. "I won't do anything violent. Thank you. But I didn't say I wouldn't do anything." 8:00 p.m. Small's Paradise was packed. Wednesday night jazz. The band was playing. People were drinking, talking, laughing. Bumpy Johnson walked in and the energy shifted. People sensed something, the way animals sense a storm coming. Bumpy walked to the bar, didn't sit down, just stood there until the room gradually went quiet. The band kept playing, but conversations died. Everyone turned to look. Bumpy didn't raise his voice, didn't need to. When Bumpy Johnson spoke, Harlem listened. "Today at 3:47 p.m., a cop named Daniel Brennan slapped my fiancée on 125th Street in front of 50 people because she didn't get off the sidewalk fast enough." The room was silent now. Even the band had stopped. "Mayme Hatcher, the woman I'm going to marry. The woman who teaches Sunday school at St. Philip's Church. The woman who feeds homeless kids in her kitchen every Saturday. That woman. He slapped her. Drew blood. Left her bleeding on the sidewalk. Bumpy looked around the room. At faces he'd known for 20 years. At people he'd protected. At the community he'd built. I promised Mayme I wouldn't do anything violent, so I'm not going to touch Officer Brennan. I'm not going to hurt him. I'm just telling you what happened because I thought you should know. He paused. Let that sink in. In case you run into him. Bumpy walked out. The room exploded in conversation. Within an hour, every person in Harlem knew what Officer Daniel Brennan had done. And every person in Harlem made a decision. Thursday morning, 7:00 a.m. Officer Brennan walked into Chen's grocery store on 192nd Street. Same store he'd been going to for 3 years. Same store where he collected $50 a month in protection money. Chen, coffee and a sandwich. The usual. Mr. Chen looked at him, looked away. We're closed. Closed? The door was open. The lights are on. Closed for inventory. Come back next week. Next week? I want coffee now. No coffee. We're closed. Brennan's face reddened. You trying to be funny, Chen? No, sir. Just closed. Brennan looked around. The shelves were fully stocked. A customer was shopping in the back. You're serving customers, but you're closed. Regular customers only today. You're not regular anymore. Brennan understood. This about yesterday? About that girl on 125th? Mr. Chen said nothing. Listen, you still owe me protection money, $50 due tomorrow. I don't owe you anything, now leave my store. You little... 3 men who'd been shopping in the back came to the front, stood behind Mr. Chen, said nothing, just stood there. Brennan left. He tried the bodega on 135th. The woman who ran it, Maria, saw him coming, locked the door. He pounded on the glass. Maria, open up. She shook her head, pointed to a sign she'd just taped to the window. Closed. No police service. He tried to flag down a taxi. Tommy Washington was driving. Saw Brennan. Drove past without stopping. Brennan walked to McGinty's bar, his usual spot for lunch. Sean, the bartender, saw him coming. Started pulling down the security gate. Sean, what are you doing? Closing early today? It's noon. Family emergency. Gotta close. This is about Johnson, isn't it? He's threatening you? Nobody's threatening me. I'm just choosing who I serve, and I'm choosing not to serve you. By 2:00 p.m., Brennan had been refused service at 7 businesses, all in Harlem, all places he'd been going to for years. He didn't understand yet. Thought it was just a few people. Thought it would blow over. He was wrong. Thursday night, 9:00 p.m. Brennan tried to go to his barber shop, Willie's Cuts on Lenox Avenue. Been getting his hair cut there for 5 years. Willie was sweeping up when Brennan walked in. Willie, need a trim? Willie kept sweeping. Didn't look up. Can't help you. Why not? Booked solid, for the next month. The shop is empty. Booked solid with appointments. Willie, come on, I've been coming here for... I know how long you've been coming. And I know what you did yesterday. Now get out of my shop. Brennan's voice dropped. You refusing me service? That's exactly what I'm doing. I could shut you down. Health violations, safety issues, I could... Could you? Willie looked at him for the first time. You think anybody in this neighborhood is gonna back up your lies? You think you got any power here anymore? Brennan left. Went to the 28th precinct. His captain wanted to see him. Captain McKinley sat behind his desk, looking tired. Brennan, sit down. Cap, if this is about yesterday, that girl is Bumpy Johnson's fiancée. Brennan went pale. You didn't know that, did you? No, I didn't know. Well, now you do, and now I've got a problem. Internal Affairs received 200 complaints about you in the last 24 hours. 200. Phone calls, letters, walk-ins. All saying you're corrupt. All saying you take bribes. all asking for an investigation. That's Johnson. He's organizing this. Probably, but you know what? Some of those complaints have evidence, photographs, receipts, witness statements, real evidence that you've been running a protection racket in Harlem for 3 years. Cap, everybody does it. You know that. Don't. McKinley held up his hand. Don't say anything else. IA is opening an investigation. You're being transferred. Effective Monday. You're going to the Bronx. Far away from Harlem. Far away from Bumpy Johnson. And you're going to keep your head down and thank God you're not in prison. The Bronx? Cap, my whole life is in Harlem. Not anymore, it's not. Friday morning. Brennan woke up to pounding on his apartment door. He opened it. 3 men in suits. Federal agents. Daniel Brennan? Yeah. We need you to come with us. There's been some irregularities with your bank account. Looks like unreported income. We need to ask you some questions. They took him to Federal Building. Questioned him for 6 hours about money he couldn't explain. Money from protection rackets. Money he'd been collecting for years. By the time they let him go, his bank account was frozen pending investigation. Friday evening, 6:00 p.m. Brennan came home to his apartment building on Convent Avenue. The landlady was waiting in the lobby. Mr. Brennan, I need to speak with you. Not now, Mrs. Rodriguez. I've had a bad day. It's about your apartment. What about it? You need to vacate by tomorrow. What? I have a lease. Your lease was bought out. Someone paid 6 months' rent for you to leave. There's a cashier's check here for $2 or more, moving expenses, but you need to be out by tomorrow noon. Who bought out my lease? I don't ask questions. I just cash checks. Your belongings are packed, in boxes in your apartment. I took the liberty since you weren't here. Brennan ran upstairs. His apartment was empty. Everything he owned was in cardboard boxes stacked in the living room. On top of the boxes was an envelope. Inside was $2, $1, and a typed note. Harlem has spoken. Leave. No signature, no threat, just a statement of fact. Friday night, 11:00 p.m. Brennan sat in his empty apartment surrounded by boxes, trying to understand how his life had collapsed in 48 hours. No job in Harlem, no apartment, no bank account, no place that would serve him, no friends who would talk to him. He hadn't seen Bumpy Johnson once, hadn't been threatened directly by anyone, but Harlem had erased him. Quietly, systematically, completely. Saturday morning, 9:00 a.m. Brennan loaded his boxes into a U-Haul truck, took one last look at the neighborhood he'd lived in for 8 years, drove away, headed for Boston. His brother lived there. Maybe he could start over. He never came back to Harlem. Saturday afternoon, 2:00 p.m. Mayme Hatcher walked down 125th Street, same sidewalk where she'd been slapped 3 days ago. Mr. Chen was at his fruit stand. Miss Mayme, how are you feeling? Better. Thank you for helping me Wednesday. No thanks needed. You want some apples? Fresh today. On the house. I can pay. I insist. For you, always free. Maria from the bodega saw her, came outside. Miss Mayme, I heard what happened. I'm so sorry. If you need anything at all, you let me know. Thank you, Maria. Tommy Washington drove past in his taxi, rolled down the window. Miss Mayme, you need a ride? Anywhere you want to go, no charge. I'm okay, Tommy. Just walking. You let me know if you need anything. Anything. Everywhere she went, people greeted her, offered help, showed respect. She realized something. She wasn't just Bumpy's fiancée. She was part of Harlem, and Harlem protected its own. Saturday evening, 7:00 p.m. Mayme walked into Small's Paradise. Bumpy was at his usual table. She sat down across from him. Where's Officer Brennan? Gone. Gone where? Boston, I think. Maybe. I don't know, I didn't ask. Bumpy, what did you do? Me? Nothing. I told you I wouldn't do anything violent. I kept my promise. But he's gone. His apartment, his job, everything. That wasn't me. That was Harlem. I just told people what happened. They made their own decisions. Mayme looked at him, at the man who'd kept his promise, who hadn't hurt anyone, who'd simply told the truth and let the community do the rest. You're scary sometimes, you know that? Only to people who deserve it. He's really gone. He's really gone, and he's not coming back. Nobody in Harlem will talk to him. Nobody will help him. Nobody will even acknowledge he exists. He's a ghost. Might as well be dead. But he's not dead. No, because you asked me not to kill him. So I didn't. But I also didn't let him stay. He touched something sacred. And in Harlem, when you touch something sacred, you get erased. Mayme reached across the table, took his hand. Thank you. For keeping your promise, for not becoming what he was. I could never become what he was, because I protect what I love. And you're what I love most. They sat in silence for a moment. So, Mayme said, you still want to marry someone who gets you in trouble with the police? Bumpy smiled. I'm already in trouble with the police. Might as well have a beautiful wife while I'm at it. She laughed. The swelling on her lip had gone down. In a few days you wouldn't even know she'd been hurt. But Harlem would remember. For years, decades, the story would be told. The cop who slapped Bumpy's fiancée. The cop who disappeared in 72 hours. Not killed. Not beaten. Just erased. By Monday, Officer Daniel Brennan's name had been removed from the duty roster at the 28th Precinct. His locker was cleaned out. His desk was reassigned. By Wednesday, nobody at the precinct talked about him. It was like he'd never existed. In Boston, Brennan got a job as a security guard. Worked warehouse night shifts for the next 15 years. Died in 1963. Alone. Forgotten. Nobody from Harlem attended his funeral, because nobody from Harlem remembered him. In 1948, Bumpy Johnson and Mayme Hatcher got married. The wedding was at St. Philip's Church. 500 people attended. Mr. Chen was there. Maria from the bodega. Tommy Washington. Willie the barber. Sean from McGinty's. The entire community. They stayed married until Bumpy died 20 years later. And every year on their anniversary, Mayme walked down 125th Street, the same sidewalk where it all started, and every person she passed greeted her with respect, with love, with the understanding that in Harlem, you don't touch what's sacred, because if you do, you don't fight one man. You fight everyone, and in that fight you will lose. Officer Daniel Brennan learned that lesson in 72 hours, and it cost him everything. If this story showed you that community is the most powerful weapon, subscribe for more untold stories of how Harlem protected its own. Drop a like if you understand that respect is enforced by the people, not just by power. Share this with someone who knows that you never touch what's sacred. What would you have done in Bumpy's position? Let me know in the comments.